thought my jokes were bad.
But frankly, when you attempt to come up with the antithesis of a billionaire who dresses as a giant flying rodent, you have to come up with someone a lot stranger.
That's an interesting point.
So now everyone in Hollywood wants to be the next Nicholson. Robin Williams is interested, Paul Bettany, Adrian Brody, Steve Carell. Every A-lister in town wants to put that clown makeup on. But Nolan again turned to Heath Ledger.
And I thought my jokes were bad.
He'd actually decided 3 years earlier. He saw Brokeback Mountain, watched Heath Ledger disappear into a role, and walked out with his mind set on who his Joker was.
When you look at that performance, yes, it doesn't relate to the Joker at all, but it's incredibly apparent how talented that guy is. When you look at that actor and you say, I know that actor can do anything. We spoke very early on, before the script was even in place, and we were on the same page in terms of who the Joker would be in this world.
It was one of those moments where I was asked if I would be interested in playing the Joker, and I knew 5 seconds later exactly how to play it.
So when he sits there and tells me I can do the Joker, I can make the smile, and I can create this iconic presence, you trust that, you jump on it.
The Joker, the character of the Joker was just too good to turn down. If Tim Burton was doing The Dark Knight and asked me to play the Joker, I wouldn't have taken it, because to try and even touch what Jack Nicholson did in Tim Burton's world would be a crime. And so when Chris came to me, and I knew how Chris was, he'd already set up the world for me. I'd seen what world it was that I would be playing in. So I knew it was open for a fresh interpretation, and I instantly kind of had something up my sleeve, which happened to be exactly what Chris was kind of looking for.
He later called it the easiest decision of his directing career. The comic book purist at the time, however, called it the dumbest one.
It's not that simple. With a Joker, it never is.
When the casting was announced, the internet did what the internet does. Petitions, meltdowns. The pretty boy from a romance playing the most famous villain in comics was, according to roughly the entire fan base, an obviously catastrophic choice.
So we went through the process of deal making and announcing and everything. And I think the whole world turned around and said, what do you do? Heath Ledger, Joker, it didn't make any sense to people at all.
While the forums were filled up with anger and slurs, Heath was getting to work.
We didn't want to have that moment on Heath where we just sort of, made him dress up as the Joker and suddenly he's the Joker. So he developed the look of the character with Lindy having a costume designer, with John Caglione who did the makeup, and myself over a long period of time.
I locked myself away for 6 weeks in a room, and I kind of came up with this creep. Walk around like a madman in finding posture, finding stance. Finding his voice is very important, because when you find the voice, you find the breath within the voice.
He kept a diary of the character, a notebook of Joker thoughts and Joker drawings that nobody else was ever meant to see.
That was typical of Heath on any movie. He would certainly immerse himself in the upcoming character.
One thing Heath wanted to do was to apply the makeup himself. As an actor, he's saying, okay, this character would put his own makeup on, in real life. And so what would that look like if he just got the makeup? The thing that stuck from that is he always had makeup on his fingers and under his fingernails and everything, as he would have from putting it on just with his hand.
He drew on Alex from A Clockwork Orange and on Johnny Rotten, the lead singer of the Sex Pistols.
But now we're facing a cheapskate comedy interrogation act, and it just ain't on, pal. It's a joke, it's a farce.
Why don't you give me a call when you want to start taking things a little more seriously?
We looked at paintings by Francis Bacon for visual reference. We looked at all kinds of things, talked about all kinds of different philosophical ideas behind the Joker and anarchy and chaos and what he would represent. We saw absolutely eye to eye on the bigger picture idea of who this guy was going to be.
I just do things.
It was a really amazing experience to be a part of, to see him developing something in that way.
And then he showed up on set, and the people who were there and in this business for decades realized very quickly that something rather unusual was happening.
And as we shot with Heath, you could see everybody on the floor just fascinated by him. I mean, it was just such a sort of interesting creation.
Our scene together in the hospital bed, which is really my only scene with him, and I thought, well, I don't really have any lines. What am I going to do? So I got in the bed, and they were lighting, and Chris was walking around and doing things, and then Heath came around and would walk around me like this. And I would watch him, and I would watch him, and didn't say anything for maybe an hour. And then we'd watch him, and then he'd start saying his lines. And then all of a sudden, my hand would go up like this, and he caught my hand. So we just went through this organic process of developing this scene. And then it was a long day, and we walked out back to our trailers, and Heath was here, and I was walking, and he puts his hand on my shoulder, and he goes, "That's what acting's all about."